Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is Walter Jennings. I am here with the lovely Miss Jewel Smith. Miss Jewel, how you doing this morning?
I am doing well. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you, Walter?
Doing excellent, doing great. We are your Couples Academy practitioners, and we are so excited to be with you this morning. Hopefully, you all are enjoying getting to know some of the members of our team. As always, we want to thank Danielle and Hassani for allowing the Couples Academy to not only to serve with them, but to also serve us as well. And so excited to come to you all this morning to share with another hot topic: why betrayal can cause trauma and how to start healing. So, really pertinent topic. Jewel, I know we were talking a little bit before we came on the line. When we deal with a lot of couples, there are a lot of individual challenges that obviously do come up when we have these challenges as well. And so it's important for us to be willing to do the work individually while we're also promoting collective healing.
Yeah, most definitely. Unfortunately, trauma is something that is dated. It's not something that just happened overnight. And unfortunately, getting people to understand that if certain traumas are not healed and addressed ahead of time, before your marriage, before your relationship, it's going to be a struggle.
Absolutely. So want to shout out a couple of people who are joining us on the line. Want to say hello to Cali Power Couple. Kenny Burkett. What's going on, Kenny? Simply Stay. Miss Kim C says good morning. Good morning, Miss Kim. Thank you so much for joining us again. For those of you that are tuning into the Couples Academy show, we're talking about why betrayal can cause trauma and how to start healing. So when we talk about betrayal, we want to start with the really general footing that betrayal is a violation of trust. So this is where trust has been established and there has been a breach in that trust. So when we talk about trust, trust comes from attachment, familiarity, and agreement. Trust comes from attachment, familiarity, and agreement. Now, notice there isn't necessarily a timetable that is attached to those things, but these are three of the primary ingredients that are necessary when we talk about building trust. So that attachment are individuals that we grow a closeness to. And that connectivity can oftentimes be built in a myriad of different ways. Sometimes we know that even when it comes to trauma, we can have a trauma bond with individuals where we're both going through certain things at the same time. And that could lead to a immediate, strong connection between us that is based upon this centralized issue that we both have. And then when we talk about that familiarity, getting to know one another, getting to know you, or getting to know who I think you are. Because what we like to say when we're in the dating and the courting process, oftentimes you don't meet the true individual, you meet the representative. You meet that salesperson, that person that they want you to see. And then on the backside of that, there's usually an agreement, whether it is spoken or unspoken, that takes place when we begin to establish trust with someone. There are some boundaries, there are some things, some rules, or at least things that we set in place as it relates to how we are going to govern our relationship. Now, bear in mind, some of those rules are not only unspoken, but some of them may be based on expectations that are oftentimes spoken or unspoken that again are tied to that familiarity. So, Ms. Jewel, when you think about the building of trust, as we begin to talk about how betrayal begins to compromise that, what's been your experience as far as with seeing how trust can be built?
Well, first let me tell you, I was reading this article, and in the article it says that marriage is supposed to be a place of healing for trauma. Basically, in a relationship, if both parties can have dealt with their trauma and have communicated with each other that there has been trauma, then in that relationship, that allows that person that has had the trauma to see a different relationship, to hear things differently, to trust again. But when those things are not revealed to one another, and then the trauma that person has had is not dealt with, those things come along and then they resurface again. So, what I see, in my couples that I deal with, is a lot of them lack the ability to trust. One, because of course we're not okay. Infidelity is infidelity. It has happened, but I have found out that a lot of my couples that are unwilling to trust again is because they never dealt with that person that they put all their trust into before in a previous relationship, and a parent and a sibling. And when those things, when that bond is broken, that person becomes broken. And then when that person becomes broken, that relationship becomes broken.
Absolutely. And Jewel, you're getting right into exactly what we're talking about today, which is that betrayal trauma. And betrayal trauma is a term that was initially defined by psychologist Jennifer Frey in 1991. And the way that she defined betrayal trauma was this. She says it's a specific trauma where the betrayed needs to maintain a relationship with the betrayer for support and protection. So, Miss Jewel, as you mentioned, normally we see this show up in childhood, where you have children who are depending upon their parents for certain things, and the parent has violated that trust in one way or another. Now we know that children are depending on their parents, so even though they may have this trauma, they have this disappointment, they don't have the liberty or the freedom to then move away from that relationship, to move out of the home, to reestablish themselves somewhere else. So then they're forced to continue to navigate this relationship with this individual that has violated that trust, that has severed that attachment, that again they've seen some unfamiliar things in them, and there's been a violation in those boundaries and then those agreements that have been set forth by either expectations or the things that the parent has established. So as you mentioned, a lot of things that we see in our counseling with the individuals, with the couples that we're dealing with, a lot of these things go back to some of the baggage and some of the issues that they brought with them from childhood, a lot of the experiences based on their expectations. And so even with the infidelity, those things are either a violation of some of the things that they either grew up believing, or they are the worst case fear because of some of the things that they have been trying to avoid that are now they're having to deal with in their adult life.
Walter, this is one of the reasons why we really strongly emphasize, if you have a child in your home during the time of an infidelity, they should not be privy to what's going on, especially if they're young children. If there's any way that you can shelter them, because that child will become an adult. And those things that that child is hearing and seeing, that emotion that child is taking on, is now going to be instilled in them. And although you may not see it, it will surface in them later on. And, so we as parents still have to protect our children. So as we're going through this thing called life and relationships, if we had that trauma, why would we give that? Why would we transfer that to our child? Because they're going to experience what we're experiencing. And if we don't take hold of what's going on in our marriages, what's going on in our minds, then all we're doing is setting our children up for the same cycles that we went through.
Absolutely. And Miss Jewel, to that point, I think it's important for us to encourage people to know that it's important for you to do the work. Part of what has been happening in families and with couples is that they're trying to hide that trauma from not only their spouse, but they're also trying to hide it from their children. And those things are coming out in other unhealthy ways. So it is imperative that you do the work. Now, I do want to push us that as our children grow older, it is important for us to have conversations when we feel like they are in a good, mature place and space where they can handle some of these crucial conversations about some of the trauma and things that we've walked through, that we're willing to have those discussions with our children. And the reason why is because the enemy is not creative. The same way that he came at you with the trauma that you have, he's gonna oftentimes come in the same way to your children. So it's important that we have those lines of communication open all throughout all throughout their time as they're coming up in our home. And then again, when they get to a place where they're really able to handle some of the things that we walk through, that we're honest and forthright about that.
Walter, I totally agree with you with that, because, that would allow that child to now say, wow, that's why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And now they have an understanding. Wow, it wasn't just me. I wasn't crazy. You really did love me, but because of what you were going through, you didn't know how to show it. You know what I'm saying? You didn't. You stayed up all night crying. Well, I thought it was something that I was doing wrong, that I was upsetting you. So yes, having those conversations at the proper time and the proper age frames. But when you have those conversations, you have to be able to articulate exactly what the problem was. And for some of us, we say we had some form of trauma, but there's no name to it. Was it anger? Were you going through some type of molestation? Was the trauma excuse me, was the trauma infidelity as far as in a sexual nature? Was the trauma infidelity as far as a financial nature? Was it depression? You have to put a name to it. And then when you put a name to it, you need to be able to articulate what it was that you were going through, so that child completely understands, and then there's no question.
Yeah, we are as sick as our secrets. And so it's important for us to shine light on those things so that we can move into a place of being healthy and whole. Hey, everyone. Again, you're tuned into the Couples Academy show. Today, we're talking about why betrayal can cause trauma and how to start the healing. We are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back with more of the Couples Academy show. Welcome back to the Couples Academy show. Walter Jennings, Jules Smith. We are here talking about why betrayal can cause trauma and how to start the healing. Definitely got to give a shout out to my brother. He said, did he just miss this, brother? I apologize, Gonzalez. Thank you for tuning in. joining us. I am raised in the South, and so absolutely, when somebody say good morning, you say good morning back. So good morning to you, Sage One. Good morning, Bashan. Good morning, Tori. Thank you all so much for tuning in. My brother Daryl, good to see you. And of course, again, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Couples Academy show. So wanted to share this comment from Frank. Frank says, please pray for my wife and I because the divorce papers are on the table waiting for my signature. I'm sick to my stomach and I can't focus on anything today. It's just a blur and I feel like I am floating. So Frank, you definitely have our prayers and our thoughts, but also too, we want to strongly advise you if you and your wife have not done Last Chance Weekend, if she is willing to watch a video, anything, any of the testimonials, we cannot stress enough how transformational and life-changing Last Chance Weekend is. Jewel will tell you, we have had couples where, again, the papers have been signed and like literally the marriage was over. They came to Last Chance Weekend and were able to turn it around. So we cannot encourage you enough. The next Last Chance Weekend is actually coming up this weekend. And then the one in April will actually be the third weekend in April. So please reach out to us regarding Last Chance Weekend. Jewel, you want to share a little bit about your experience and perspective when it comes to Last Chance Weekend and the importance of it?
Yes. And Frank, first I want to tell you is please, if you feel the way that you feel, invest in that time to make sure that you can get everything that you need to get, restore whatever it is that you need to restore. It is not over. Mm-hmm. You know, the papers are not signed. And just like Walter said, we have had people come in that papers were already signed. They were already living in two separate places, and some of them in two separate states. But we were there to help them through. So please allow us to help you. And I can tell you, you know, I went through the Last Chance Weekend. Me and my husband were at the point of going our separate ways, you know, and I'm going to tell you, when I walked in there, my mind was already set. We just here because when I get home, I'm out. I'm out. But that weekend, those grounds are holy grounds. Mm-hmm. And when you walk on those grounds, there is such a transformation that takes place that you're able to see the things that you were not able to see. You are able to feel the things you were not able to feel. And yes, does it hurt? Yes, it does. But you need that hurt in order to get through it. You need to be able to sit in some of the stuff that has caused your marriage to be where it's at now. But believe me when I tell you, when everything is on the table, there is hope. There is light at the end of that table. When you leave there, that marriage you came with that was on a brink of no ends, that's where it stays. Because when you go past those gates, you're now into something new. And you have the family, the support, the love to help you through from that point on. So please give us a call.
Absolutely. You want to make sure that you exhaust every resource before you decide to make that final decision in regards to your marriage. And Last Chance Weekend is absolutely that. It is the last chance for your wedding. So you can look back and say, I did everything that I could in order to save my marriage. So be sure to reach out to us. Now,
wait a minute. We've had people divorce.
Yeah.
We already divorced and came.
Yeah.
And remarried.
I'm telling you. And as much as we talk about it, you all, just like Jewel mentioned, it's holy ground. Like no amount of words, no amount of we can't share enough with you to really encapsulate the experience. You have to be there to really feel the power and the magnitude of Last Chance Weekend. I'm telling you, I was absolutely overwhelmed when I went. I left inspired and encouraged, and I promise you, there is no way that you can experience Last Chance Weekend and leave the same. And this is directly tied again to our discussion this morning. We're talking about why betrayal can cause trauma and how to start the healing. So what we want to do is actually share with you 4 important steps that you can take in order to assist you in your healing process. Now, number 1, you want to acknowledge instead of avoiding. Acknowledge instead of avoiding. So many times people will not be honest about exactly what they are feeling, what they're going through, or what or what they may have experienced. Even with some of the comments that we see, we have so many couples and relationships that they've been married for years, and they've had childhood trauma, they've had experiences, they've had things individually that they have walked through that they have not yet revealed to their spouse. And we would challenge you that part of the reason why you have the partner and the individual that you are in a relationship with is for them to help walk you through and get to the holy, healthy, healing place of those things that you may have encountered and gone through. So if you have been avoiding those challenges, if you have been suppressing those issues, then those things more than likely are showing up in your relationship, whether you're able to admit it or not. Those things probably have been showing up physically with some of the challenges and physical health issues that you may be having. But it is so important to make sure that you are addressing those things rather than avoid them. Jewel, what you say?
You hit it like right there, because suppressing trauma in any way, shape, or form will impact you physically. Hey, I had so much stress upon me through the traumas of past things that I didn't deal with, the problems that we were having in our marriage, where it turned on me internally. I had a stroke. I wasn't able to do certain things, and the doctors kept saying, well, we don't understand. Well, we don't understand. Well, I understand I can't move. I understand I can't walk. But when they did those MRIs and they saw that all in the front of your brain controls all your cognizance, that was so swollen because of stress and because of the things that was harboring inside my mind. So you want to avoid harboring any type of emotion, any type of trauma, anything that can impact you. But your spouse is there to help you through those things. And you have to be honest, not only with them, but with yourself.
We're talking about healing, and you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. And so that is so critical. All right. So, second one, you want to practice accepting difficult emotions. Now, we live in a world and in an age, right, where everyone is pleasure seeking. So if it doesn't feel good, I need to avoid it. If I don't like it, then I just won't deal with it. But there are certain emotions and there are certain feelings that it's important for us to actually sit in. So it's important for us to sit in those places of being uncomfortable, of really thinking through how some of the challenges that we had during our childhood, or some of the things that have come along with the infidelity, how has it impacted us? And those spaces don't feel good. Those moments and those times can be very uncomfortable, but they are so critical to the healing process. And I want to turn this around to the betrayer as well, because often the betrayer will try to move the betrayed quickly through the process. I just want to get over it. I just want to move on to what's next. No, you need to sit in it too, because more than likely, if you allow yourself to rush through the process, or rush your partner through the process, more than likely you are going to cheat again. And part of the reason why was because you did not allow yourself the adequate time to feel every emotion, to really deal with every emotional consequence that came with your decision.
And Walter, and half of the time they're dealing with their own trauma that they never dealt with, that they never let known. So yes, they want you to get through it because they can't handle it themselves neither. Because now it's bringing up emotions that they thought they got rid of, or that they never addressed, or that they never dealt with. So we're talking about accepting difficult emotions. Is whatever that emotion is, study it, look it up, Google it, like we do everything else. Get all the information you need to know about that feeling that you're feeling, and educate yourself on it. That's how you get past it.
Absolutely. And please listen, we tell our couples, we tell our clients, you have to be honest and transparent through this process. If you lie, it does not work. If you're not going to I'm telling you now, you are wasting your money and you're wasting your time if you are not going to be honest and transparent through this process, it is imperative to your health and your healing. Now, this next one is very tricky, but we have to say it because it is important. Now, you want to turn to others for support in your healing. Now, there is a caveat. Make sure that you are turning to the right people. Make sure that you are getting the right help. Now, often when you're walking through something, you can find somebody to talk to about it. But the question is, are they going to give you good, godly, wise counsel in what you are dealing with? And so it is important for you to scrutinize exactly who you are getting that counsel from. So don't just
And it
run.
could be good.
Yeah.
It could be good and godly. I mean, they can give you good and godly advice, but is the advice something that they've experienced themselves?
Mm-hmm.
That makes all the difference in the world. You know, is that advice something that they are educated in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can tell you, oh, you know, okay, here's a few scriptures to read or whatever, but they have no idea what it's like to have had, you know, some form of infidelity. They have no idea what it's like to have childhood traumas, or they, you know, don't anything about sexual assaults or whatever the situation may be. So whoever you reaching out to for advice, make sure they have the right advice to give you.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we say in Foundry is that with our rule ones are individuals that we look to when we scrutinize those individuals that we're going to take advice, counsel, and guidance from. So first of all, it's important for you to scrutinize those individuals that you're going to listen and heed advice from. And our criteria is they have to not only have what I want, but they also need to have been where I have been. So they have to have been in my shoes. And those are the two qualifications that are important before those individuals can speak into our lives. That's what we say in Foundry. And that's what Jewel is sharing with you right now, that it is important and imperative that you get help, but making sure that you get the right help from the right people is really important.
And here at Couples Academy, we've been where you've been.
Absolutely. What we like to say at Couples Academy is that we are the experts, not just because we are read and learned, but we are the experts because we have been in your shoes and we have been where you have been. We are where you want to go. And we're here to not only share with you that there's hope on the other side, but actually give you the steps and the strategies on how to get there. All right, last one. Now, you want to focus on what it is that you need. And I got an extra E in there to emphasize that need. So this is not about what you want. This is about what you need. So it's imperative that as you're thinking about the process of exactly what it is that you need for your healing and to be whole and to be healthy, those things that you need may not necessarily be a desired want. You may have to have some conversations. You may have to have some difficult discussions. You may have to adopt. You may have to let some bad habits go. You may have to let certain people go. But it's really important for you to focus on exactly the things that you need to do in order to be healthy and whole and embrace them wholeheartedly.
And if that need is going to strengthen you and repair you, then you do whatever it is that you need to do, whether you like it or not, whether it feels good or not. Then this is what you need to do.
Absolutely. And sometimes, that requires not sometimes, I apologize. Every change is going to require an investment of some sort, whether it is time, whether it is money, whether it is talent, whether it is energy. Every single change, anything that you are purposing to do, especially if you're looking to transition from one place to another or to even heal, it is going to require an investment. And so we are here at Couples Academy to help walk you through that process, to partner with you all. So be sure to reach out to us because, again, that is why we are here. We've been where you have been, and we can tell you that you can get there. You can do it. But it's going to take more than just a pep talk. It's going to take more than just you coming on and watching these shows. It's going to take you actually digging down and doing the work in order to prepare you individually, because healthy relationships come from healthy individuals. The problem is that we've had individuals that are not healthy themselves and they're trying to heal their relationship. And we can't help you heal your relationship if you are not willing to do the work for you to be healthy and whole and heal yourself.
And you have to be willing to look at yourself.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Couples Academy show today. Listen, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Download the Couples Academy app. Or as Frank said he is going to do, Frank said he is going to be calling us today. So Frank, we
Awesome,
look
Frank.
forward to hearing from you. And again, we are praying and lifting up you and your wife in that situation. So before you sign those papers, before you go forth with that, we are going to believe that, again, you all will be able to attend Last Chance Weekend and that you all are going to be reunited. Listen, everyone, be sure to tune in same time tomorrow morning for another Couples Academy show. My name is Walter Jennings. Jules, say goodbye to the people.
Have a blessed day. Goodbye.
Peace, everybody.